It must be very strange for our newcomers today to have come in and been introduced to this practice, this formal practice here at our Zendo, with a group singing of Happy Birthday, to be immediately followed by a tongue lashing about the wearing of socks in a Zendo. So I wanted to talk a little bit about formal practice as I find myself feeling a little bit like a real dick. Because as you were singing Happy Birthday to me, I was just didn't smile. It's a real struggle for me because it puts me in a very difficult position. I'm very grateful for everybody coming and for your best wishes. They're important. It's important to express to people that we're glad that they were born and we're glad for what they bring to our lives and to the world. I was trained in a way, in a traditional way, and it's important to understand the context of that if we're to go forward together. This isn't the first time this has happened, actually. It's a funny thing. My birthday being December 7th, actually, often I'm in the middle of the most severe, intensive rohatsu on my birthday, and I really like doing that. And there was one sesshin several years ago, I don't know, we were on day 5 or day 6 or something like this, and the shoji came out of a broom closet with a cupcake with a candle in it and everything like this, and I had sort of a similar response, flat. And it might seem unappreciative. The way that I was trained is in Zazen. And as I've said before, Zazen is a Japanese word that is a transliteration of a Chinese word, chana, which is a transliteration of a Sanskrit word, jhana. It's often translated as meditation, but a more accurate description of it, or translation of it, or pointing to its heart, is dissolution or absorption. Absorption in what, I guess, is a question. Or dissolution into what is the question. So in practice, dissolution into the absolute, or the origin, or into emptiness. And this is an emptiness in the context of Zen and Buddhism, as I remind us all, that has as its content all things in this cosmos, the formless primordial soup out of which all things arise. The name of the room that we're all sitting in is a Zendo. Do means way. And just like in a dojo, the place of the way of Zen. So this is where we do the Zazen thing, I guess you could say. And so the thing that we do when we're doing Zazen is to allow the specific, the arising aspect to dissolve. We step back. The individual self steps back, and we dissolve into. We take this step back onto our zabutans, and when we chant, we dissolve into unification and harmony. When we do zazen, we dissolve into unification and harmony with this cosmic activity. Even when we stand up and bow on behalf of everybody, we're doing this activity of dissolving into unified activity. So for me, the experience of having this happy birthday, or that kind of activity is such an outright affirmation. And it's a wonderful thing to do. But it's totally bizarre to me to do it in a zendo. And it's totally bizarre to me to do it, especially in the context of like a sesshin. So I just want to, I've got my recorder on here, and so I'd really like to make for a recording and say I really appreciate being acknowledged. But if we cannot do that during formal practice, and if we cannot do that during a sesshin or a Sunday sit, that'd be wonderful. I'd really appreciate that. This is a Sangha Sunday, and so we have an opportunity to sit down and have coffee and treats, and there's a piano if people want to play it, and after we close would be a wonderful time to do something like that. So there, now I can be complete my feeling of being a unappreciative jerk. I'm sorry. Right now, in general, I'm in a kind of a low point, and I don't know if it's because my birthday's tomorrow, and it's just sort of like the annual reflection, or if it's because I'm in the midst of fundraising, or if it's just I don't know, post production angst or what. But for me, what I really want for my birthday, what I really want is for people to really grasp what's going on here, what this practice is all about. There's ample opportunities for us to be distracted and entertained. There's ample opportunities for us to find pleasure in this world. And as we all know, particularly with what's going on in the world right now, there's lots of opportunities for us to find fear and anger and hatred and be motivated by those things. But what there's not a lot of, what there's not a huge amount of opportunity for, is a place to really come to find a still point. To come to allow all of those distractions and activities and engagements and fears and desires and all of that, allow that to sort of settle down and get to the root of the matter, what moves us and what inspires us and what we're connected to. Each of us lives a busy lives, and it seems to me like they're just getting busier. Each of us is distracted by all of our anxieties and desires, and the tools that we create and the activities that we engage in seem to me to be creating more and more opportunities for that. And so for the past 20 years I've been involved in this center and in trying to develop a place of practice and to sustain a form of practice which, as Dogen puts it, is a backward step, or as Noah Levine likes to say, goes against the stream. It's a place where we can come and engage in this practice, and yes, it's a traditional practice, and yes, there's costumes, and yes, there's all kinds of ritualistic components, but they serve a purpose, which is to allow us to take this space and this practice to understand that it's not our usual space of functioning. It's not the usual way that we do things. It offers us an opportunity to step outside of the normal which is aimed at distraction and desire and avoidance. It allows us to step into a different space which is focused on allowing our focus on ourselves to fall away. And it's focused on giving us a space, instead of running and chasing, to just be. And so it's a constant battle for me to maintain the boundaries of this space, and if possible, to just stretch them out a little bit to create more space, not just for everybody else, but also for me. Because I'm just a human being too. I live in this world too, and I have all kinds of distractions and desires and anxieties and things I want to avoid. So, what I hope for is that when we come to practice this way together, this way of jhana, dissolving, unifying, becoming one with each other, with this environment, with this whole cosmos, dissolving and manifesting harmoniously, that we remember, or that we embrace just the understanding that that's why we're here. That when we find some aspect of form that rubs us the wrong way or grates on us, when we find some physical aspect of practice, whether it's the duration of the sit, or whether it's the temperature of the zendo, or whether it's the quality of the food, or how we do certain things, these things all put us into a place where we're right up against wanting to change it, to avoid it, wanting to indulge in it, to pursue it. And our practice is always just to be with that, to see that. What happens in practice or in life is the more we chase after things, I think we can all see the more we chase after things, the more we chase after things. The more stuff we get that we think is going to make us happy, the more stuff we need that we think is going to make us happy. The more stuff we run away from and avoid, the more things there are that we need to run away from and avoid. These things just grow and grow and grow, until our focus is the space inside of our hearts, the space inside of our minds, the space where we can just be, gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and has more and more qualifiers, more and more conditions, more and more things that diminish or deprive that spaciousness, that nourishing resting place, our true home. And almost counterintuitively, this practice of zazen, this practice that we engage in together in formal practice, in face-to-face interview, in listening to Teisho, is what we realize is that a lot of the reason that this happens is because we're always running away from the shadows of our mind. We're running away from phantoms. Our mind says, oh, this is bad and we need to avoid it. And our mind says, if you just had that, it would be so good. But a lot of the time, these things are just fantasies, illusions, and shadows. And this practice that we engage in of just sitting, it starts as just a small light. And as we sit more and more, it's just about allowing that awareness, that fundamental awareness, to illuminate, to really see the things that we're chasing after in their spherical existence. That these things also are born, exist, and die. They're not permanent, and so there's no lasting satisfaction that comes from them. To see the things that we're avoiding and afraid of and running from our whole lives, to see that they have causes and conditions, that they're born and they exist, and then they decline and cease to exist. And as we do this, the spaciousness that we can create in our homes, in our hearts, in our lives, begins to expand. And we can begin to spend less and less of our time pursuing and running away from and trying to avoid. There are less things that we feel like we need to be complete, because with this awakening, with this light, we can know for ourselves through simple activities, walking and sitting, or playing music, or doing our dishes, or innumerable things that we can engage with, having conversations. We know already that just as we are, we're complete. We are not separate from things. We are already at home. So the reason that I'm talking about all of this stuff is that this teaching, or this way of practicing, for me personally, is supremely important. Because when I look at the world around me, all I see is efforts, our own efforts, to completely avoid this spaciousness, to close it up as much as it can, so that we're all constantly running, we're all constantly having so much to do. So for me, ensuring that this space is available, ensuring that this practice is available, ensuring that there are people who really deeply understand what this practice is about, is really, really important. So much so that I've been committed to doing this for like half of my life now. So I try to keep this space as sacred as I can, so that when we come in and engage in this practice, we just engage in this practice. And I recognize that there are two sides, and we want to enjoy the minus side, the dissolution side, and we want to appreciate and recognize the arising side, the plus side. And so even on these Sangha Sundays, we do that. We say, okay, let's practice seriously, and then we'll have a festive, enjoying each other's company part. And this has worked really, really well, and I've been very happy about it. So if we can just continue to do that and keep the affirmation outside and keep the minus dissolution inside, would be wonderful. And in general, in practice, if we can hold on to this teaching in our hearts throughout the day, that when we catch ourselves chasing, if we can just find our way home to this spaciousness where we recognize that whatever it is that we're chasing is not some aspect of this cosmos that we are incomplete without. We might still want it. We might still even go get it. But there's a fundamental difference that arises when we feel like we are incomplete without it. When we've got to have it. Whether that's an object, or whether that's a person, or whether that's a circumstance. Likewise, if we find ourselves running from something, avoiding something, if we can just stop for a moment and allow ourselves to breathe and know that already we are complete, even with our shortcomings, warts and all. Warts are also a part of the cosmos. They are also part of the complete nature. Already we're complete. It doesn't mean that we're not going to apply ourselves to improve our situation, but we can't fall into the idea that we won't be complete. we won't be able to experience satisfaction or fulfillment until those things are fixed and changed and avoided. This practice that we engage in is one of simply allowing ourselves to come to rest, to allow ourselves to open up our eyes and our awareness and to experience that there really is nowhere else for us to be right now. There's nothing else for you to be doing right now. This is it, the full content of your life. This is the culmination. This moment where we're sitting is the culmination of billions of years of evolution and cosmic rotation and interaction of elements and atomic particles, and this is it. This is where it was all leading to. We're looking around going like, well, what? I don't see it. Yeah, you do. But you're figuring it should be something else. And all we're doing in Zazen is just waking up to realize that this moment of our lives, this very moment of our lives, is it. And over, each one of us is being born and dying again and again into this unfolding moment. I use this term moment, which is absurd because there's not even a thing called a moment. It's just this constantly unfolding activity. And just as soon as we become aware of this unfolding activity, already we've died. And a new moment, a new activity is being born over and over and over again. So wonderful. After we finish the sit, we can have some cupcakes and we can celebrate that it's everybody's birthday and that it's everything's birthday and that each of us is being born anew every moment.